welcome everybody. I think we're going to get started. Probably still have some people trickling in, but my name is Craig Wilson. I'm with Driving Sales. I'm just here to kind of welcome everybody and introduce Joshua here in just a second. Before I bring him up, just a reminder, it's a huge help for us in choosing these breakouts, in the years to come. If you guys can just either open up the app when you're done and rate the speaker on there, or fill out one of the papers on the table where you're at, and then just hand them to me when you are done leaving the room so we can get those where they need to go. So really appreciate it. It's my pleasure to present Joshua Mitchell. I really like in these breakouts when we have actual dealers coming up, people that are down in the dealership on a day-to-day basis and can kind of tell us their experiences. Josh Mitchell is the BDC director for Dan Cummins Chevrolet. He's started in the industry in 2011, manages a BDC with 11 employees. They average about 2,000 internet leads and 3,000 inbound sales calls each month. And says culture has been a key point in taking them from 130 units to 800 units a month. I've had the pleasure of working with Josh. He's in one of our any day Internet 20 groups, and I've seen his numbers, and these guys are killing it. So I'm sure he's got some really good things to say. So I will turn it over to him. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good morning. That was weak. Good morning. As he said, stop managing like it's 1995. So we all just stopped doing that. I picked 1995 because I guess there was a good movie called Suckers came out around that area and gave the public kind of a glimpse of what happens into dealerships, and not exactly a great thing. So, as he said, who am I? My name is Josh Mitchell. I am the Business Development Center at Dan Cummins Chevrolet. Been at Dan Cummins Chevrolet since 2011. I spent 8 years in the mortgage business before I entered the car business. And when I started there in 2011, we were averaging about 130, 150 units, a respectable number for a dealership in any town. But we hired on some key players, myself, Glenn Lundy, which is in the crowd, and started making a lot of changes. Dan Cummins Chevrolet has been in business since 1956, and it was a family-owned business and doing well. So we made a lot of changes. And in those changes, in 2014, Glenn came up to me and he said, we're going to sell 6,000 cars. And we had been doing about a 30% increase year over year. No big deal, but 6,000 cars is a lot of cars. And so at the end of 2014, we sold 6,124 cars. And so 2015, we didn't want to set a goal. He didn't want to set a goal. I set a goal in my mind about 7,500 cars. And we made a lot of process changes. Made a lot of our salesmen to go mobile with iPads. And we sold 7,500 cars. And so then he came up to me and said, 2016 is going to be a banner year for us. We're going to break every record, like we continue to break records year over year, month over month. And we're going to sell 10,000 cars. And I don't know if anybody knows, but 10,000 cars is a shit ton of cars. And he said, all we have to do, I've done the math. He's a math guy, math whiz. He said, I've done it. We can do 33 cars a day. We can do it. No big deal. And I'm proud to say that we are right on target to sell 10,000 cars this year. And I'm guessing it's going to be 12,000 next year. So, with that being said, your zip code has nothing, zip, zero, zilch, on the size of your hustle. We are in a city of 10,000 people. Have your attention now? 10,000 people. Our nearest city is Lexington, Kentucky, with about 300,000 people. And so, your zip code has nothing to do, the size of your town has nothing to do with what you do, what you can do, and what is possible. So, So what are we going to learn today? I just went too fast. So number one, I hate these things. I hate doing these things with the slides. But what we're going to learn today is managing versus leading, the past, my favorite word, and I am one, millennials, culture, and how that plays into your dealership. So manager. A manager is to bring about, succeed in accomplishments, sometimes despite difficulty, hardship. To manage is to handle, direct, govern, and control in action. So there's a key word in there, control. When you talk about managing, then I want to talk about leadership. Leaders create and inspire vision. How do you think we got to 10,000 cars without a vision and a direct way and inspiration from Glenn and myself and everybody and the owners? Motivate and inspire people to engage in that vision, coach and build your team so they can be more effective in achieving that vision. And so I talk about manager versus leader, and I came up with this all by myself, I promise you. Managers leave a mess, leaders leave legacy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be known as the manager who threw a burrito. I don't want to be known as the manager who is an absolute asshole. I want to leave a legacy. I want people to know who I was and that I did everything I could while I was working for whatever company. That I did everything I could to grow them and to produce them and develop them as they went on with their career. And so the past. Boys, we got to have a talk. How many people have been in the business for 20 plus years? All right, I'm in trouble. The past way. You know, Steve Jobs found that breaking down people, screaming and yelling them, is what created to get the best and the best success out of his people. We yell and scream at our sales staff. We become complete assholes to them, irrational. We give them punishments. We let Rick get away with murder, and then when one guy makes a small mistake, we give him bell to bell. The sales staff, and any of your sales staff or any of your staff, the car business is a long business. We work hours on end. And so the bell to bell, you know, I know a lot of people think this is a great punishment because they'll learn their lesson by being there. But all you're doing is breaking your people down. All you're doing is creating an animosity between you and them. And I say this because I feel that some managers need to hear this. If you are not willing to do it to yourself, how can you do it to other people? If you screw up, is your owner going to put you on bell to bell? Probably not. You already work long hours. Believe me, I understand that. But how can you give them punishment that you're not willing to do yourself? And so I say this, you can get more with honey than vinegar. You know, guilt is a huge emotion. And I had a wonderful guy tell me this. He said, because I had a hard time leaving the dealership, because if I left the dealership to go on vacation, I felt like shit just fell apart. And he told me this, and it went through me, because he said, if you leave your dealership and shit falls apart, you need to be fired. You don't have your team prepared to do the job, and they just have screw around Thursday or screw around all week. You haven't set the proper expectations for them to succeed while you're gone. And so guilt is a powerful emotion. And With my team, I manage a BDC. I've got 11 people right now. Our numbers went up since then. We actually are roughly about 3,000 leads and roughly about 35 to 4,000 phone calls and about 1,000 chats per month. And so my team, I completely got them bought in. And the reason why I have them bought in is because I know what I'm doing. I will do it. I think that's a lot of managers nowadays, is that they get a little bit tied into what they do and they don't realize that they can't get on the floor and sell a car. They can't get on the floor and close a deal. And so then they just go with, just get out there and tell them this. It doesn't work. And so I will, and I still do. I can still pick up the phone and get an appointment. I still can answer an internet lead. I can still jump in on chat. I can still jump in on a phone call. I can still do everything. And they respect me for that. Because when shit goes down and they need help, I'm not just going to go back and play on my computer. I'm going to dive in deep right there with them. My office is in there. I'm right there in the trenches. If you're a BDC manager, director, or anything, and your office is outside of the BDC, you're missing it. How can you jump on a call when you know that they're struggling? When that oh shit moment happens and they have to dive in. If you're in another office, how are you going to get to them? If you're not in there knowing what's going on, knowing their struggles, knowing what's going on, knowing about that piece of crap car that keeps coming up, so you know that you need to talk to your inventory managers to see what we can do to get this thing out of here. How are you going to know if you're in another office? Listening to their phone calls, maybe. You're never going to know. So be in there with them. And turnover costs money. You know, Jared talked about, with turnover and a lot of different things. And in this business, for some reason, we went with the churn and burn. We've gotten everything else good. We're good on digital. Our websites are responsive. We're good on that end. But we for whatever reason, forgot about our people. Our people is where we get to sell 10,000 cars. If we treat them like crap, in a Saturday morning meeting, we've just basically belittled them, called them that they suck, and then we pat them on the ass, go sell some cars. How does that work? You've just broke them down. Your Saturday morning meeting needs to be motivational. Get them in the right head. Their head's got to be right before they go into battle. Because if their head's not in it, your customer experience, another high point on what we talk about. Their customer experience is going to be dog shit because they're already been kicked. And so they're going to treat their customer bad. And then there goes your customer out the door that you spent thousands of dollars to get in the door. They've done walked out, you don't have another chance. And so if you want a great customer experience, you have to start with them. You have to go in and get rid of all the crap that we have done because we're the car business. You have to get rid of it. It doesn't make sense to treat people like crap. It doesn't make sense to belittle them, put them on punishments that make absolutely no sense at all. Get punishments that make sense. Set expectations. Wow, that's a good one. Set expectations. How can you go through and punish someone when they didn't even know? You're punishing a guy who's been in business 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Hopefully he made it 90 days. And then all of a sudden you come down because you've been in the business 20 years, 15, 20, 30 years, and it's just how the car business is. You should have known that. How? You didn't even tell him. So, those freaking kids, millennials, they're lazy, entitled. A new one that I like from Get More Frank, Frank Lopes, had a video that just came out talking about millennials and call them douches. I mean, it makes sense, I understand. It's simply not true. Millennials are no more different than any other generation. If you look at other generations, the generation after them, they were lazy, entitled, didn't know what to do. The next one, lazy, entitled, didn't know what to do. It's simply not true. The generation's the same. How you talk to them may be a little different. They're definitely in love with this. But I don't understand why we have put this barrier against a generation. Just to lump them all into one and say, hey, they're lazy. I have a 24-year-old female in my BDC. She works 60 plus hours. Tirelessly. No questions asked. Just does it. She's probably a workaholic like myself. But she managed to work tirelessly on her computer. You can hear her on her keyboard just clicking away. And sold 120 appointments. Set 480. That's some big numbers from a millennial who's lazy and entitled. What millennials want is they want to grow, even if that means growing out of your business. You know, there's a saying, what if we train them and they leave us? Well, if we don't train them and they stay. Millennials want to grow within your company. They want to grow. They want to have a career path. As Jared said, set them on a career path. They want to know where they're going. Because if they don't, see ya. They'll take everything they can from you. And then when it's time for them to go on to the next one, they're gone. They want a coach, not a boss. I know. We've got our title as a manager. We're the boss man. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to lead, not manage, I hate managing. I want to be a leader. You have to become their coach. You look at any team, NCAA, you look at it, they have an amazing coach that won championships. Amazing coach that has taught his kids to push through all the difficulties. They've come together as a team because of that coach. Because if you are the asshole boss, your culture is shit. It will fall apart. You'll have people leave because you're just being a jerk, because for whatever reason, woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And so you have to make sure that you want to be a coach, not a boss. They don't want to waste time on the little things. Don't make things difficult for people, like expense reports that take weeks. Appraisal processes that take 8 hours. Get them through. They don't want to waste their time on these little things. They want to move fast. They want to move quickly. They want to go. So let them. They want balance and democracy. Money is not everything. Simply not. I know it's hard to say in this business because we're all motivated by money, but money isn't everything. Some people want time. Time with their family, time to do things that they like. And so you have to understand that not everybody wants to work 60 plus hours. Not everybody wants to do that. So you need to have that flexibility. You need to be staffed well enough to have flexibility with your staff. I know Saturdays off is like that's not going to happen. It happens in my department. Because I know that time, that one Saturday off a month, is precious to them. It allows them to feel like they are normal. Because in this business, Saturdays are a definite no-no. Saturday is our game day. But we have to understand that not everyone wants to. We have to develop that balance for them to understand. You need to have a one-on-one conversation to find out what's important. One question I ask my people is, what does success mean to you? It will open your eyes. Because sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's time. Sometimes to promotion. So when you understand what is motivating them, you can then figure out how to lead them to what they want. And if someone tells you they want to be a manager, they want to be your right-hand man, they want to be that, and you feel that they're there, it is your obligation as a leader to push them, to get them to understand what the job is, to get them to know what it's going to take to get there. So then, when it comes time, you have to execute. You have to execute. You've got to, if it's time for them to get a promotion, and you feel that they're ready, you better execute it. If you don't execute it, they're gone. They'll hold on for a little longer, but a dealer will poach them one day. And we're a very busy dealership, selling a lot of cars. Our people are a hot commodity. Because everybody wants to know what Daniel Chevrolet is doing in a small ass town. So they want to poach people. So if you're not leading them and you're not executing what you say you're going to, you're done. And so, with building that and executing it, find out where they're at with their career path, where they're at with their home life. Be dived into them. Because when you understand what's going on, and Sally's having a bad day, you can have a conversation with her because you're that tight with them. And I feel that we have to get very family-like in a business like this. We work entirely too many hours to not be a family, because that's what it's all about. If you want to meet your goal, if you want to execute, if you want to build your brand, if you want to build your dealership to the next level, it comes down to what's going on inside. Because if what's going on inside is not good, it's going to come out with your process on your sell side, with your customer's experience. And so make sure that what's going on inside is good. And when it's not, fire them. If you set the right expectations, like I've said, if you set the right expectations, if you know where they're at, then you're there. So if they don't meet those, and if they're causing problems, and they're not the best fit for the dealership, it's okay to fire them. I hate firing people. Glenn knows I hate firing people. It's the worst thing in my job, because I'm emotionally invested into these people. But sometimes, they've already fired themselves, guys. You're just the person doing it. You've given them opportunity. You set the expectation level. If they fail it, they fired themselves. Yes, it's hard, but you have to do it. When you set expectations, if you have 8 managers up on the desk, you can't have 8 different expectations. Everyone has to be on the same page. Because if you're working as a collective, just like any national championship team, if you're working as a collective, you will get there. If you've got 8 different people going 8 different directions, then nobody knows what's going on. And when the sales manager over here has this list of expectations, and this is where he's at, and then this team, they're on this set, and he does one small thing and he gets killed, what does it say the rest of the guys? I want to be on that guy's team because he's a little less brutal. I want to be on that guy's team because he lets people get away with a little bit more. You can't put people on bell for being 3 minutes late. Lateness is my kryptonite. It kills me. People being late absolutely drives me up the wall. But you don't want them going 90 miles an hour on a road and have an accident, just like one of our guys did just recently because he was running a little late. You don't want that. Now he's got a broken leg. He's out for 6 weeks. And so you have to make sure that those right expectations, and I understand people are going to be late every once in a while. Understand that if you set the expectation and it starts being the problem, we got to have a talk. And set those expectations and set them as a collective, as a group. Because if you have 8 different managers with 8 different things, it's hard to be a sales guy then. And so culture is huge. I did a study with my BDC. It's called the 4 Tendencies. 11 people take a test. There's a link right there for you. The reason why I did this is because I wanted to understand, because I was having a little bit of a problem with getting people on the same page. Everybody's different. I know we like to think everybody's the same, but everybody's different. How you manage one person is different. What pushes one person here shuts this person down. And so when I did this study, I found out, I'll tell you, a rebel is someone, we all have them, believe me. You might be one. A rebel can't tell themselves what to do, and you can't either. Those are the tough ones. Obliger is someone who can't hold themselves accountable, but they will go with what you do. If you tell them to go a certain way, they will follow that route. Questioner, my favorite, that asshole, will question every single thing that you have. I've had 2 of them, and they drive me nuts. But a questioner, if you bring data to back up your decision on why we're doing this, they're good. They're ready to go. An upholder, which I am, is I can tell myself what to do, and you can tell me what to do, and I will feel obligated to do it, because that's the way I work. And so, with this, I found out that with the rebel, which, if I can tell myself what to do, I can hold myself accountable, and someone else, I will be accountable to them. So with an upholder running up against a rebel, I found out that I had a lot of issues with these people. A lot. And when I would tell them to do something, they would rebel. And so I had to go with them at a different angle. And it taught me how to take that person, which is now my right-hand woman, but I couldn't get through to her in certain different ways. And so I did learn one thing with the rebel, and if you go through these, you can listen to her podcast. It's Gretchen Rubin. She has a podcast on each and every one of these 4 tendencies. And what you find out is once you've gone through everything, it'll enlighten you on why people are the way they are in your office. But I learned with a rebel that if I say, you can't do it, she'll prove me wrong. And so, I can't know that you know that. But that's how I kind of went with her, is like, don't worry, you're not going to do it anyways. And guess what? She proved me wrong. And that's how you go with them. An obliger is your mother figure. They're going to take care of themselves. They're going to take care of everybody else, and then figure out how to take care of themselves last. And so with an obliger, you have to understand that they're going to do everything that you tell them to do. But they'll try to come in sick because they don't want to let you down. And you have to understand that obligers will do everything to wear themselves out because they want to make sure that they take care of everybody else and their customers and the staff and everybody. You got to understand that you got to get in their heads, and when they're sick, kick them out. Bring data for your questioner. And upholder, we're just awesome. With the holders, set goals. Get on the right page. Push them. Those are the people that are great for, a leadership role because they already know how to hold themselves accountable and they're ready to be held accountable from anybody else. And so, set goals for these people. Push them. And that goes with each and every person on this list, is that you have to set goals. You have to get in their minds. You have to have a meeting with them. I have a 5-minute meeting